6 months ago, I became a mother for the first time, and I thought my life was finally complete. My daughter Lily was everything I had ever dreamed of: beautiful, healthy, and perfect in every way. She had the most gorgeous dark eyes and tiny perfect fingers that would curl around mine whenever I held her. I'm Jessica, 29 years old, and I had waited so long for this moment. My husband David and I had been trying to have a baby for 3 years, and when I finally got pregnant, it felt like a miracle. The pregnancy wasn't easy. I had terrible morning sickness and had to be very careful about my health, but every moment of discomfort was worth it when I held Lily for the first time. David was over the moon. He would spend hours just staring at Lily, talking to her in soft whispers, telling her how much he loved her. "She's absolutely perfect, Jess," he would say, tears in his eyes. "She looks just like you." Our families were thrilled too. My parents, who had been gently asking about grandchildren for years, were completely smitten with Lily. They would visit almost every day, bringing gifts and offering to help with anything we needed. But there was one person whose reaction to Lily concerned me from the very beginning: my younger sister Emily. Emily is 26, just 3 years younger than me, and we had always been close growing up. She was my maid of honor at my wedding, my closest confidant, and my best friend. We talked almost every day, shared everything with each other, and I had assumed she would be just as excited about becoming an aunt as everyone else was about becoming grandparents. But from the moment Emily first saw Lily, something seemed off. It was the day after we brought Lily home from the hospital. Emily came to visit, bringing a beautiful pink blanket she had knitted herself. I was exhausted from the delivery and still adjusting to life with a newborn, but I was excited to introduce my sister to my daughter. "Emily, meet your niece," I said, gently lifting Lily from her bassinet. "This is Lily Rose." Emily's reaction was intense. Her eyes filled with tears immediately, and she reached for Lily with trembling hands. "Can I hold her?" she whispered. "Of course," I said, carefully transferring Lily into Emily's arms. What happened next still gives me chills when I think about it. Emily held Lily like she was made of the most precious material in the world. She stared into Lily's face with an expression I had never seen before. It was love, but it was also something deeper and more desperate. She's perfect," Emily breathed, and tears started streaming down her face. "She's absolutely perfect." I thought Emily was just being emotional about becoming an aunt. Some people are more sensitive about babies, and I knew Emily had always loved children. She worked at a daycare center and often talked about how much she wanted kids of her own someday. But then Emily didn't want to give Lily back. "Emily," I said gently after she had been holding Lily for about 20 minutes, "I need to feed her." Emily looked at me with panic in her eyes. "Already? But can't I hold her a little longer?" "She needs to eat every 2 hours," I explained. "Maybe you can hold her again after she's done nursing." Reluctantly, Emily handed Lily back to me, but she watched every movement I made with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. As I fed Lily, Emily peppered me with questions. "Does she cry much at night? How often does she eat? What's her favorite way to be held? Does she like being rocked or does she prefer to be still?" The questions seemed normal enough, the kind of things any caring aunt might ask, but there was something urgent about the way Emily asked them, as if she needed to know these things for her own survival. After that first visit, Emily started coming over every single day. At first, David and I were grateful for the help. Having a newborn is exhausting, and Emily was wonderful with Lily. She seemed to know instinctively how to calm her when she was fussy, how to hold her to make her stop crying, how to make her smile. "Your sister is amazing with babies," David observed one evening after Emily had stayed for several hours, helping us with Lily's bath time and feeding. "She's going to make a great mother someday." I agreed, but I was starting to notice things that worried me. Emily would arrive at our house early in the morning and stay until late at night. She would cancel plans with friends, call in sick to work, and basically structure her entire life around being at our house with Lily. "Emily," I said one morning when she showed up at 7 a.m. for the 4th day in a row, "don't you need to go to work today?" "I took some vacation time," she said, barely looking at me as she headed straight for Lily's nursery. "I want to spend as much time as possible with my niece while she's still so little." I followed her into the nursery, where she was already picking up Lily from her crib. "Good morning, beautiful girl," Emily cooed to Lily. "Did you miss me? I missed you so much." The way Emily talked to Lily bothered me. It wasn't the typical aunt-like affection. It was more maternal, more possessive. Emily would hold Lily for hours, refusing to put her down even when Lily was sleeping peacefully. "Emily, you can put her in her crib if she's sleeping," I would suggest. "She's more comfortable with me," Emily would reply. "Look how peacefully she's sleeping. I don't want to disturb her." But it wasn't just the long visits and the possessive behavior that worried me. Emily seemed to be going through some kind of emotional crisis. She had dark circles under her eyes, as if she wasn't sleeping. She had lost weight and seemed constantly on edge. She would cry at random moments, sometimes while she was holding Lily. "Emily, are you okay?" I asked her one afternoon when I found her crying while feeding Lily a bottle. "You seem really stressed lately." "I'm fine," she said quickly, wiping her tears. "I'm just emotional about how fast she's growing. I don't want her to get bigger. I want her to stay this little forever." 3 weeks after Lily was born, something happened that should have been a huge red flag, but I was too sleep-deprived and overwhelmed to recognize it for what it was. I had gone to the grocery store, leaving David at home with Lily and Emily. It was the first time I had left the house alone since giving birth, and I was looking forward to an hour of quiet time to myself. When I came home, I couldn't find anyone in the house. "David?" I called out. "Emily?" No answer. Lily's stroller was gone from the front hallway, so I assumed they had taken her for a walk. But as I put away the groceries, I started to feel anxious. They had been gone for a while, and it was getting close to Lily's feeding time. I called David's cell phone. No answer. I called Emily's phone. No answer. Panic started to set in. Where were they? Why weren't they answering their phones? Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes, David came through the front door carrying Lily. "Where have you been?" I asked, rushing to take Lily from him. I was worried sick. "I'm sorry," David said, looking flustered. "Emily wanted to take Lily to the park, and I thought it would be good for all of us to get some fresh air. But then Emily didn't want to come back. She kept saying just 5 more minutes every time I suggested we head home." "Where is Emily now?" "She's still at the park. She was upset when I insisted we needed to come back for Lily's feeding. She said she wanted to stay longer." I looked down at Lily, who was starting to fuss and show signs of hunger. "How long were you gone?" "About 2 hours," David admitted. "I know that's longer than we planned, but Emily was just so happy. She kept saying how perfect the weather was and how much Lily seemed to be enjoying being outside." 2 hours. For a 3-week-old baby who needed to eat every 2 hours. I tried not to be angry, but I was frustrated that they had stayed out so long without checking with me. "Did you try to call me?" I asked. David looked sheepish. "Emily said not to bother you. She said you deserved some time to yourself and that we had everything under control." That was the first time I wondered if Emily's attachment to Lily was becoming unhealthy. But I pushed the thought away. Emily was just being a devoted aunt. There was nothing wrong with loving her niece. I wish I had trusted my instincts. Emily's emotional breakdown. As the weeks went on, Emily's behavior became more and more concerning. She would show up at our house at all hours, sometimes as early as 6 a.m., claiming she couldn't sleep and wanted to help with the early morning feeding. "Emily, this is really early," I said one Saturday morning when she arrived before David and I were even awake. "How did you even get in?" "You gave me a key, remember?" she said, already heading toward Lily's room. "And I heard her crying. I didn't want her to wake you up." I hadn't heard Lily crying, and she usually didn't wake up until at least 7 a.m. But when I followed Emily to the nursery, Lily was indeed awake and starting to fuss. "She was probably only just waking up," I said. "She might have gone back to sleep." "She needed to be changed," Emily said, already lifting Lily from her crib. "And she's hungry. Look at her rooting around. She wants to eat." Emily seemed to know Lily's needs better than I did, which made me feel inadequate as a mother. She could calm Lily's crying faster than I could. She seemed to understand Lily's different cries and what they meant. She knew exactly how Lily liked to be held and rocked. "You're so good with her," I told Emily one day, watching her effortlessly soothe Lily, who had been crying for 20 minutes despite my best efforts. "She just needs to feel safe," Emily said, tears in her eyes as she rocked Lily. "She needs to know that someone loves her unconditionally." The way Emily said it made me wonder if she was talking about something else entirely. One evening, Emily had another emotional breakdown. She was holding Lily and started crying so hard that she was shaking. "Emily, what's wrong?" I asked, alarmed. I love her so much," Emily sobbed. "I can't bear the thought of anything happening to her. I want to protect her from everything bad in the world." "She's safe, Emily. She's healthy and loved. Nothing bad is going to happen to her." "But what if something does? What if someone tries to take her away? What if she gets hurt? What if she doesn't know how much I love her?" Emily's fears seemed excessive and irrational. Lily was a healthy baby in a loving home. There was no reason to think anything bad would happen to her. "Emily, I think you might be developing some anxiety around Lily," I said gently. "Maybe you should talk to someone about these fears." "I'm not anxious," Emily snapped, holding Lily tighter. "I'm just realistic about how dangerous the world can be for innocent children." That night, after Emily finally went home, David and I had a serious conversation about her behavior. "I'm worried about Emily," I told him. "She seems obsessed with Lily. It's not normal for an aunt to be this attached." "She's just going through something," David said. "Maybe she's feeling pressure about having kids of her own. You know how much she's always wanted children." "But this isn't healthy, David. She's here more than she's at her own apartment. She's missing work. She's not taking care of herself. And the way she looks at Lily, it's not like an aunt looking at her niece. It's more intense than that." "What are you suggesting?" "I don't know. Maybe we need to set some boundaries. Maybe we need to limit her visits." David was reluctant to hurt Emily's feelings, and honestly, so was I. Emily had always been such a good sister, and I knew she was going through a difficult time. She had broken up with her long-term boyfriend 6 months before Lily was born, and she had been struggling with depression and loneliness. But looking back now, I realized that Emily's problems started long before her breakup. They started the moment she first held Lily. ## the warning signs I missed. There were so many warning signs that I missed or dismissed. Emily would talk about Lily as if she belonged to her. "My baby is so smart," she would say. "My baby is the most beautiful baby in the world." When I corrected her, "She's your niece Emily," she would laugh it off and say she just felt so close to Lily that it felt like being her mother. Emily also started buying things for Lily without asking us first. She would show up with clothes, toys, books, and furniture. She prefers to face outward. But looking back now, I realize that Emily's problems started long before her breakup. They started the moment she first held Lily. There were so many warning signs that I missed or dismissed. Emily would talk about Lily as if she belonged to her. "My baby is so smart," she would say. "My baby is the most beautiful baby in the world." When I corrected her, "She's your niece Emily," she would laugh it off and say she just felt so close to Lily that it felt like being her mother. Emily also started buying things for Lily without asking us first. She would show up with clothes, toys, books, and furniture. "She's getting overstimulated. She needs to nap." Emily had an excuse for why everyone else was holding Lily wrong or why Lily needed to be given back to her. She acted like she was the only person who truly understood Lily's needs. The breaking point came when Emily started talking about Lily's future as if she would be the one raising her. "When she starts talking, I'm going to teach her to call me Mama M," Emily said one day while feeding Lily a bottle. "She'll probably just call you Aunt Emily," I said. "But Mama M sounds more special, don't you think? More intimate." "Emily, she's going to have a mother. She's going to call me Mama." Emily looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Of course," she said. "I just meant as a nickname." But I could tell there was something else behind her words. Something that made my stomach turn with anxiety. 3 days later, Emily tried to take Lily away from me. And that's when I learned the truth that changed everything. The day everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in early October when my world completely fell apart. I had been feeling overwhelmed with motherhood and decided to take a much-needed break. David had taken the day off work, and I planned to spend a few hours at the spa, my first real time away from Lily since she was born. Emily had come over early that morning, as she usually did, and offered to help David with Lily while I was gone. "Are you sure you don't mind watching her?" I asked Emily as I gathered my purse and keys. "Mind?" "Jessica, I would rather spend time with Lily than do anything else in the world," Emily said, already holding Lily in her arms. "Take as long as you need. We'll be perfectly fine." Something in her voice should have alarmed me. There was an intensity, an excitement that seemed inappropriate for simple babysitting duties. But I was exhausted and desperately needed some time to myself. "I'll be back by 2 p.m., I told David, kissing him goodbye. "Her next feeding is at noon, and there are bottles prepared in the fridge." "Got it," David said. "Don't worry about anything. Just relax and enjoy your day." I kissed Lily's forehead and headed out the door, feeling guilty but relieved to have a few hours of freedom. I should have trusted my instincts. I should have stayed home. The phone call that shattered my world. I was in the middle of getting a massage when my phone started ringing incessantly. The massage therapist asked if I needed to answer it, but I declined. I was finally relaxing for the first time in months, and I didn't want to be interrupted. But the phone kept ringing. Call after call after call. Finally, worried that something might be wrong, I asked the therapist to pause the massage and I checked my phone. 7 missed calls from David, 3 from Emily, and 2 from numbers I didn't recognize. My heart started pounding as I called David back. "Jessica, thank God." David's voice was panicked and breathless. "You need to come home right now." "What's wrong? Is Lily okay?" "Lily is." "Jessica, Emily tried to leave with her. She tried to take Lily away from the house." I felt like the world had stopped spinning. "What do you mean she tried to take her? Take her where?" "I don't know. I was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes, and when I came out, Emily was gone. Lily was gone. The car seat was gone. I found Emily loading Lily into her car in the driveway." "Loading her into her car? Why?" "She said she was taking Lily to the park, but Jessica, She had packed a diaper bag with enough supplies for days. She had formula, clothes, diapers, blankets, way more than you'd need for a trip to the park. I felt sick to my stomach. Where is Lily now? She's here with me. I stopped Emily before she could drive away, but Jessica, the things she said. I think Emily might be having some kind of mental breakdown. What did she say? David was quiet for a moment. She said Lily belonged with her. She said you didn't deserve to be Lily's mother. She said she was going to take Lily somewhere safe where no one could hurt her. I hung up the phone and drove home faster than I had ever driven in my life, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. What David was describing didn't sound like the Emily I knew. It sounded like the behavior of someone who was seriously mentally ill. The confrontation when I burst through the front door of my house, I found David pacing in the living room with Lily in his arms. She was crying, probably sensing the tension and chaos around her. Where's Emily? I asked, taking Lily from David and holding her close. She's in the kitchen. Jessica, I need to warn you, she's not acting rationally. She keeps insisting that Lily is her baby, not yours. I walked into the kitchen and found Emily sitting at our kitchen table, her face streaked with tears and her hair disheveled. She looked up when she saw me, and the expression on her face was one I had never seen before, a mixture of desperation, anger, and something that looked almost like hatred. You came back early, Emily said flatly. Emily, what the hell is going on? David said you tried to take Lily out of the house without permission. Without permission? Emily laughed bitterly. I don't need permission to take care of my own daughter. I felt like I had been slapped. Your daughter? Emily, Lily is my daughter. What are you talking about? Emily stood up from the table, her eyes blazing with an intensity that frightened me. Stop lying, Jessica. I can't take it anymore. I can't watch you play house with my baby while I pretend to be okay with it. Emily, you're scaring me. You're not making sense. I'm not making sense? Emily's voice rose to a shout. You've been lying to everyone for months. You've been pretending that Lily is your biological child when we both know the truth. I stared at my sister in complete confusion. What truth? Emily, I gave birth to Lily. I was pregnant for 9 months. Everyone saw me pregnant. No, you weren't. Emily screamed. You faked it. You wore fake pregnancy bellies and lied to everyone, including David. And then you stole my baby and convinced everyone she was yours. The accusation was so outrageous and so completely insane that I couldn't even respond at first. I looked at Emily like she had grown a second head. Emily, that's completely crazy. You think I faked a pregnancy for 9 months? You think I somehow stole a baby? Whose baby would I have stolen? Mine. Emily screamed so loudly that Lily started crying harder in my arms. You stole my baby. I gave birth to her, and you took her from me. David appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face pale with shock. Emily, he said gently, I think you need to sit down. You're obviously upset and confused. I'm not confused. Emily turned her fury on David. You don't even know, do you? You have no idea what your wife is capable of. She's been lying to you from the beginning. Emily, stop, I said firmly. You're having some kind of breakdown. Lily is my daughter. I carried her in my body. I gave birth to her at St. Mary's Hospital on March 15th. There are medical records, witnesses, documentation. Fake documentation. Emily insisted. Jessica, I remember everything. I remember being pregnant. I remember going into labor. I remember holding my baby girl for the first time before you took her away from me. The way Emily said it, with such conviction and such pain, made me wonder for a moment if she actually believed what she was saying. But that was impossible. I remembered my pregnancy vividly. I remembered the morning sickness, the doctor's appointments, the ultrasounds, the labor pains. Emily, I said as calmly as I could, I need you to think about what you're saying. You think I somehow faked a pregnancy and stole your baby. But you were never pregnant. You never gave birth. And even if you had, how would I have convinced doctors and nurses to give me someone else's baby? Because you planned it. Emily said. You knew I was pregnant, and you knew I was young and scared. You convinced me to go along with your plan. You said it would be better for everyone if people thought the baby was yours. I felt like I was in some kind of alternate reality. Nothing Emily was saying made any sense, but she clearly believed every word of it. Emily, you were never pregnant, I repeated. When do you think this pregnancy happened? When do you think you gave birth? 6 months ago. The same time you claim you gave birth. We were pregnant at the same time, but you convinced everyone that only you were having a baby. That's impossible, Emily. People would have noticed if you were pregnant. Mom and Dad would have known. Your friends, your co-workers, everyone would have seen. I hid it because you told me to. You said we had to keep it secret until we figured out what to do. I looked at David, hoping he could help me understand what was happening. He looked as confused and frightened as I felt. Emily, David said gently, I was with Jessica throughout her entire pregnancy. I went to every doctor's appointment. I saw every ultrasound. I was in the delivery room when Lily was born. I saw Jessica give birth to her. Then you're lying too. Emily accused. Or maybe she lied to you as well. Maybe she convinced you that what you saw was real when it wasn't. The evidence that made no sense. Emily began pulling things out of her purse, photographs, documents, what looked like hospital bracelets. Look at this, she said, showing me a photograph. This is me holding Lily right after she was born. Look at the hospital bracelet, it has my name on it, not yours. I looked at the photograph Emily was showing me. It was indeed a picture of Emily holding a newborn baby, and the baby did look like Lily. But the photo looked strange somehow, the lighting was off, and Emily's hospital gown didn't look quite right. Emily, this picture looks fake. It looks like it was edited. It's not fake. It's the only proof I have left because you destroyed everything else. Emily showed me more items, a hospital bracelet with her name on it, what she claimed was Lily's original birth certificate with her listed as the mother, even a diary where she had supposedly documented her pregnancy. Look at this, she said, opening the diary to a random page. March 10th. Baby is moving so much today. I can't wait to meet her. March 13th. Having contractions. I think it's almost time. March 15th. She's here. My beautiful daughter. But Jessica says I have to let everyone think she's hers. I stared at the diary entries in disbelief. They were written in Emily's handwriting, and they were dated from the time period when I was pregnant with Lily. But I knew they couldn't be real. I remembered being pregnant. I remembered giving birth. Emily, I don't know what's happening to you, but these things aren't real. You didn't give birth to Lily. I did. Then explain this, Emily said, pulling up her shirt to reveal what looked like a C-section scar across her lower abdomen. I gasped. The scar looked real, fresh, exactly like the kind of scar you would have after giving birth via cesarean section. Where did you get that scar? I whispered. From giving birth to my daughter, Emily said. The daughter you stole from me. The breaking point. David stepped between Emily and me, clearly concerned that the situation was escalating beyond our ability to handle it. Emily, I think we need to call someone to help you, he said. You're obviously going through something very difficult, and we want to help, but we can't let you continue to believe that Lily is your child. Call someone? Like who? The police? Go ahead. Call them. Let them investigate and find out the truth about what Jessica did to me. Emily, if we call the police, they're going to want to see proof of your claims. They're going to want to see legitimate medical records, not fake documents. These aren't fake. Emily screamed. Jessica is the one with fake documents. She's been lying to everyone for months. I was holding Lily tightly, trying to keep her calm while my sister had what appeared to be a complete psychotic break in my kitchen. Nothing she was saying made any sense, but she believed it so completely that I was starting to doubt my own memories. Emily, I said, trying to stay calm, if what you're saying is true, then why didn't you say something sooner? Why did you let me take Lily home from the hospital? Why did you let me raise her for 6 months? Because you convinced me it was temporary. Emily said. You said it would just be until I got my life together. You said you would help me figure out how to tell everyone the truth. But then weeks went by, and months went by, and you kept making excuses about why it wasn't the right time. But Emily, you never said any of this to me before today. You never mentioned anything about this arrangement or about wanting Lily back. Because you kept telling me to be patient. You kept saying we would work it out. But I can't wait anymore, Jessica. I can't watch you bond with my daughter while I pretend to be just her aunt. I need her back. She belongs with me. Emily's voice broke on the last sentence, and she started crying again. Despite the insanity of what she was saying, I could see that she was in genuine emotional pain. She truly believed that Lily was her child and that I had somehow taken her away. Emily, I think you need professional help, I said gently. I think you're having some kind of breakdown or delusion. But I can't let you take Lily. She's my daughter, and I won't let anything happen to her. She's not your daughter. Emily screamed. And I'm not having a breakdown. You're the one who's sick. You're the one who stole a baby and convinced yourself she's yours. That's enough, David said firmly. Emily, I'm calling your parents. And I think we need to call a doctor or a mental health professional. You're clearly not well. Don't you dare. Emily lunged toward David, trying to grab his phone. Don't call anyone. Just give me my baby and let me leave. I'm not giving you my daughter, I said, backing away from Emily. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I won't let you take Lily. Emily stared at me for a long moment, her face twisted with rage and pain. Fine, she said quietly. If you won't give her to me willingly, I'll prove that she's mine. I'll get a DNA test. I'll get medical records. I'll find a way to prove the truth. A DNA test is a great idea, David said. That will settle this once and for all. Yes, it will, Emily said, wiping her tears. And when the results show that Lily is my biological daughter, I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did to me, Jessica. I'm going to make sure you pay for stealing my child. Emily gathered up her purse and her evidence and headed toward the front door. Where are you going? I called after her. To get proof, Emily said without turning around. To get the DNA test that will prove Lily is my daughter. And then I'm coming back for her. After Emily left, David and I sat in stunned silence for several minutes, trying to process what had just happened. What do you think is wrong with her? David asked finally. I don't know, I said, still holding Lily close. Some kind of postpartum psychosis, maybe? Even though she didn't give birth. Or maybe she had a miscarriage that she never told us about and she's having some kind of delusional episode. Should we call the police? I don't know. She's my sister, David. I don't want to get her arrested if she's having a mental health crisis. But she tried to take Lily. That's attempted kidnapping. I know. But maybe we should try calling her parents first. Maybe they can help us figure out what's going on. But even as I said it, I couldn't shake the feeling that something about this situation was very, very wrong. Emily's conviction was so absolute, her evidence so detailed, her emotional pain so real. What if she wasn't lying? What if there was some truth to what she was saying? No. That was impossible. I remembered being pregnant. I remembered giving birth. Didn't I? The DNA test that changed everything 3 days after Emily's breakdown in our kitchen. We all met at a medical clinic to get the DNA test that would supposedly settle this matter once and for all. Emily had called me the day before, sounding calmer but still absolutely convinced that Lily was her biological daughter. "I've arranged everything," she said over the phone. "Dr. Martinez at the family clinic can do the test today. It will take about a week to get the results." "Emily, are you sure you want to do this?" I asked. "When the test proves that Lily is my daughter, I hope you'll agree to get some help." "When the test proves that Lily is my daughter," Emily replied, "I hope you'll do the right thing and give her back to me." David and I arrived at the clinic with Lily, and Emily was already there with our parents. Mom and Dad looked confused and worried. Emily had apparently told them some version of her story, but they clearly didn't believe it any more than we did. "Jessica, honey, what's this all about?" Mom asked, hugging me tightly. "Emily is saying some very strange things about Lily." "I don't really understand it myself, Mom. Emily seems to believe that Lily is her baby, not mine. We're hoping this DNA test will help her accept reality." Dad pulled me aside while Emily was filling out paperwork with the nurse. "Sweetheart, I'm worried about your sister. She's been acting very strange lately. Yesterday she showed me what she claimed was a diary from when she was pregnant, but I know she was never pregnant. I would have noticed." "That's what I keep telling her, Dad. But she seems to truly believe it." "Has she been seeing a therapist? Because I think she needs professional help." "We're planning to look into that after we get these test results." The actual DNA collection was simple, just cheek swabs from Emily, me, and Lily. But the tension in the room was overwhelming. Emily kept staring at Lily with that same intense, possessive look she'd had for months. "Don't worry, baby girl," Emily whispered to Lily while the nurse took her sample. "Soon everyone will know the truth, and you can come home with Mommy where you belong." Hearing Emily call herself Lily's mommy made my skin crawl. But there was something about her absolute certainty that was starting to plant seeds of doubt in my mind. What if there was something I didn't remember? What if I had some kind of psychological break during my pregnancy and had convinced myself of things that weren't true? No. That was ridiculous. I had medical records. I had witnesses. I had physical evidence of my pregnancy and delivery. But then why was Emily so convinced? And where had she gotten that cesarean scar? The week waiting for the DNA results was the longest week of my life. I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about the past year. I went through all my medical records, all my photos from pregnancy, all my ultrasound images, looking for, I don't know what, proof that my memories were real. Everything seemed legitimate. My OB/GYN had detailed records of my entire pregnancy. There were photos of me with a clearly pregnant belly. David had been with me through everything and confirmed every detail. But Emily's conviction was so absolute that I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. David found me one night sitting in Lily's nursery at 2 a.m., holding her while she slept and staring at ultrasound photos. "Jess, what are you doing?" "I'm trying to remember," I said softly. "I'm trying to make sure I remember everything correctly." "Remember what?" "Being pregnant. Giving birth. David, what if Emily is right? What if I somehow convinced myself that Lily was mine when she wasn't?" David sat down next to me and put his arm around my shoulders. Jessica, that's impossible. I was there for everything. I felt Lily kicking in your belly. I drove you to the hospital when you went into labor. I held your hand while you pushed. I saw her come out of your body. But what if we're both somehow remembering it wrong? What if Emily really did give birth and somehow we all got confused about who the mother was? Honey, you're letting Emily's delusions get to you. That's not how reality works. You can't just accidentally mix up who gave birth to a baby. But late at night, holding Lily in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something I wasn't remembering correctly. The results. Dr. Martinez called me personally with the DNA test results. Mrs. Cooper, I have the results of the maternity test. I need to speak with you in person. Can you come to my office this afternoon? Can't you just tell me over the phone? I'd prefer to discuss this in person. And I'd recommend bringing your husband. The ominous tone in his voice made my stomach drop. Why couldn't he just tell me over the phone that I was Lily's mother? David and I went to Dr. Martinez's office that afternoon, leaving Lily with my mother. Emily was already there when we arrived, sitting in the waiting room with her expression I couldn't read. Emily, what are you doing here? I asked. Dr. Martinez called me too. He said he wanted to speak with all of us together. We were led into Dr. Martinez's office, where he had the test results in a folder on his desk. His expression was grave, and he looked like he was about to deliver terrible news. I've been practicing medicine for 25 years, Dr. Martinez began, and I have never had to deliver results quite like these. He opened the folder and looked at each of us before continuing. The DNA test results show definitively that Emily is Lily's biological mother. The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. That's impossible, I whispered. The test was run twice to confirm accuracy, Dr. Martinez continued. There is no doubt. Emily is a 99.99% genetic match as Lily's mother. I looked at David, who appeared to be in complete shock. Then I looked at Emily, who was crying but also looked vindicated. I told you, Emily said softly. I told you she was my baby. But I gave birth to her, I stammered. I was pregnant. I have medical records. Mrs. Cooper, I'd like to ask you some questions about your pregnancy and delivery, Dr. Martinez said gently. Can you tell me which hospital you delivered at? St. Mary's Hospital. March 15th. Dr. Patterson was my OB/GYN. Dr. Martinez made some notes. And can you describe your delivery experience? I told him everything I remembered, the contractions starting in the middle of the night, David driving me to the hospital, the long labor, finally holding Lily for the first time. Mrs. Cooper, I've taken the liberty of calling St. Mary's Hospital. According to their records, you were never a patient there. Dr. Patterson has no record of you as a patient. There is no birth certificate on file for a baby born to you on March 15th. I felt like I was falling through space. That's impossible. Call them again. There must be some mistake. I've spoken with 3 different departments. You were never pregnant at St. Mary's Hospital. However, Dr. Martinez turned to Emily. Emily was a patient there. She delivered a baby girl on March 15th via emergency cesarean section. No, I said, shaking my head. No, this isn't real. This can't be real. The truth begins to emerge, Mrs. Cooper, Dr. Martinez said gently. I think you may be experiencing some kind of psychological condition that has caused you to develop false memories of being pregnant and giving birth. This is extremely rare, but it can happen in cases of severe psychological trauma. False memories? But I remember everything so clearly. The mind can create very convincing false memories, especially when someone desperately wants something to be true. Emily spoke up for the first time since the results were announced. Jessica, I need to tell you something about what really happened. I looked at my sister through tears, feeling like my entire world was crumbling around me. What really happened? Emily took a deep breath. You're right that you were never pregnant. But you're also right that you believed you were. Jessica, you had what's called a hysterical pregnancy. You convinced yourself you were pregnant even though you weren't. That's not. I had ultrasounds. I had doctor visits. No, you didn't. You thought you did, but they were all in your imagination. David, do you remember going to any actual doctor appointments with Jessica? David looked confused and scared. I thought I did. But now that I'm really thinking about it, I can't remember specific details. I can't remember the name of her doctor or which office we went to. That's because we never went to any appointments, Emily said softly. Jessica, when I found out I was pregnant 6 months ago, I was terrified. I was single, scared, and I didn't think I could handle raising a baby alone. I confided in you about how scared I was. I don't remember any of this. You started talking about how much you wanted a baby, how you and David had been trying for so long. You became obsessed with my pregnancy. You started reading pregnancy books, looking at baby clothes, talking about our baby as if you were pregnant too. I stared at Emily, trying to process what she was saying. At first, I thought you were just being supportive. But then you started telling people you were pregnant. You started wearing loose clothing and fake pregnancy bellies. You convinced David that you were pregnant, and he believed it because he wanted to believe it. But I remember being pregnant. I remember feeling the baby move. You convinced yourself it was real. Your mind created all those memories because you wanted them so desperately. Dr. Martinez interjected. This is called pseudocyesis, or phantom pregnancy. It's a psychological condition where someone experiences all the symptoms of pregnancy without actually being pregnant. In severe cases, the person can develop completely false memories of pregnancy and delivery. The full confession. Emily continued her explanation, tears streaming down her face. Jessica, when I went into labor, you insisted on coming to the hospital with me. You were in the delivery room when Lily was born. You held her right after I did. I don't remember any of this. You were so convinced that she was your baby that you started telling the nurses she was yours. You somehow convinced them to put your name on some of the paperwork. In all the confusion after the delivery, you took Lily home with you. But why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you tell anyone? Emily's voice broke. Because I was young and scared and still recovering from surgery. And because part of me was relieved. I wasn't ready to be a mother. I thought maybe it would be better if Lily grew up with you and David, who desperately wanted a child and could provide for her better than I could. So you just let me take your baby? I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I would figure out how to get her back when I was ready. But as the weeks went by, I watched you with her, and I could see how much you loved her. I didn't want to destroy your happiness. But then why did you change your mind? Emily wiped her tears. Because I realized I was destroying myself. Every day I watched you be Lily's mother while I pretended to be just her aunt. Every day I felt like I was dying inside. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. I knew I had to tell the truth, even if it meant losing our relationship. I looked at David, who was staring at Emily in shock. David, did you know any of this? No, he said quietly. I really believed you were pregnant. I have memories of feeling the baby kick, of going to doctor appointments. But now that I'm really thinking about it, those memories feel fuzzy and unclear. You experienced what's called shared delusion, Dr. Martinez explained. When someone you love is completely convinced of something, it's possible to adopt their false beliefs as your own, especially when you want those beliefs to be true. The psychological evaluation. Dr. Martinez recommended that I undergo a psychological evaluation to understand how I had developed such complete false memories. The evaluation took place over several sessions with Dr. Sarah Kim, a specialist in dissociative disorders. Jessica, what you experienced is extremely rare but not unheard of, Dr. Kim explained during our first session. You desperately wanted to have a baby, and when your sister became pregnant, your mind found a way to make that desire feel real. But I can still remember being pregnant. I can remember giving birth. How can memories feel so real if they never happened? The mind is incredibly powerful. When we want something desperately enough, our brain can create false memories that feel completely authentic. These aren't lies you're telling yourself consciously. Your brain actually created neural pathways that made these false experiences feel real. Over the course of several sessions, Dr. Kim helped me understand how my false pregnancy had developed. It started with intense baby fever after years of trying to conceive. When Emily told me she was pregnant, instead of feeling happy for her, I had apparently experienced a psychological break that caused me to believe I was pregnant too. You started exhibiting all the signs of pseudocyesis, Dr. Kim explained. You missed periods due to stress, your belly expanded due to subconscious muscle relaxation and bloating, you experienced morning sickness due to anxiety. Your body was mimicking pregnancy so convincingly that even you believed it was real. But what about David? How did I convince him? People who love us want to believe what we tell them, especially when it's something they desperately want to be true. David saw what he wanted to see and believed what he wanted to believe. When you started wearing fake pregnancy bellies and acting pregnant, his mind filled in the gaps. The custody transition, the hardest part wasn't understanding what had happened, it was giving Lily back to Emily. Legally, there was no question. Emily was Lily's biological mother, and she had never given up her parental rights. I had no legal claim to the baby I had been raising for 6 months. But emotionally, the transition was devastating. Lily was the only child I had ever known as my own. I had fed her, changed her, rocked her to sleep, loved her with every fiber of my being. The thought of giving her up felt like death. Jessica, Emily said during one of our supervised visits, I don't want to take Lily away from you completely. You've been her mother for 6 months. You love her, and she knows you. I want you to still be part of her life. As what? Her aunt? After being her mother for half her life. I don't know exactly what it will look like. But Jessica, I've seen how much you love her, and I know Lily loves you too. I don't want to destroy that bond. The transition took place gradually over several weeks. First, Emily started taking care of Lily during the day while I was at work. Then she started keeping her overnight a few nights a week. Finally, Lily moved to live with Emily full-time. The night before Lily moved out permanently, I held her for hours, memorizing every detail of her face, her smell, the way she felt in my arms. I love you so much, sweet girl, I whispered to her. I will always love you, no matter what. David found me crying in the nursery at midnight. I don't know how to do this, I told him. I don't know how to stop being her mother. You don't have to stop loving her, David said. She'll always be special to you. But Emily is her mother, and Lily needs to be with her. 6 months later, it's been 6 months since Lily went to live with Emily, and I'm slowly learning how to rebuild my life. I'm still in therapy with Dr. Kim, working through the psychological issues that led to my false pregnancy. It's been hard to accept that my mind could create such convincing false memories, but I'm learning to distinguish between what's real and what my mind created. Emily has been incredibly generous about letting me spend time with Lily. I see her several times a week, and while it's painful not to be her mother, I'm grateful to still be part of her life. Lily is thriving with Emily, who has grown into a confident, loving mother. "Look at her," Emily said last week as we watched Lily crawling around the living room. "She's getting so big and smart." "She's beautiful," I agreed. "You're doing an amazing job with her." "I couldn't have done it without everything you taught me about taking care of her. Jessica, I know this has been incredibly hard for you, but I want you to know that those 6 months when you were her mother, they weren't fake. Your love for her was real. The care you gave her was real. She's the healthy, happy baby she is today because of how much you loved her." Emily was right. Even though my pregnancy was false, my love for Lily was completely real. And while I'm no longer her mother, I'll always be someone who loves her unconditionally. The road to healing. David and I are in couples therapy, working through the trauma of everything that happened. Our shared delusion about my pregnancy has shaken our trust in our own perceptions and in each other. "How do we know what's real?" David asked during one session. "If we could both be so completely convinced of something that never happened, how can we trust anything?" "You learn to reality test your experiences," our therapist explained. "You seek outside confirmation for important beliefs. You rely on documented evidence, not just memories and feelings." I've also been working with a fertility specialist to explore real options for having children. The irony is that there was never actually anything wrong with my fertility. I was just so stressed about getting pregnant that my body stopped ovulating normally. "There's no medical reason you can't conceive naturally," the fertility doctor told me. "But I'd recommend waiting until you've fully processed the psychological trauma before trying to get pregnant again." For now, David and I are taking things one day at a time. We're learning to trust our perceptions again, to distinguish between what we want to be true and what actually is true. The relationship with Emily and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's been hard to forgive her for letting me believe Lily was mine for so long, but I understand why she made the choices she did. "I was scared," Emily told me during one of our therapy sessions together. "I was 26 years old, single, and terrified of being a mother. When you seemed so eager to take care of Lily, it felt like a gift. But I never meant for it to go on so long. I just wish you had told me the truth sooner," I said. 6 months of believing she was my daughter. Those feelings don't just disappear. "I know. I'm so sorry, Jessica. I was selfish and cowardly, and I hurt you terribly." Our relationship will never be exactly what it was before, but we're learning to trust each other again. Emily is letting me be very involved in Lily's life, and I'm learning to accept my role as her aunt rather than her mother. Lily's future Lily is now 1 year old, walking, and starting to say her first words. When she sees me, she reaches for me and babbles happily. She doesn't understand the complex history of how she came to live with Emily instead of me, and hopefully she never will. Emily and I have agreed that as Lily gets older, we'll tell her an age-appropriate version of the story, that I helped take care of her when she was very little, and that's why we have such a special bond. "She's lucky," Emily said recently. "She has a mother who loves her and an aunt who loves her like a second mother. She'll never lack for love." Emily is right. Lily is surrounded by people who adore her. And while my journey to motherhood didn't happen the way I expected, I learned something important. Love doesn't require biology. The love I felt for Lily during those 6 months was real, even if my pregnancy wasn't. Someday, David and I hope to have children of our own. And when that happens, I'll be able to love them with the knowledge that I learned from loving Lily, that being a parent is about dedication, sacrifice, and unconditional love, not just about who gave birth to whom. The lesson learned this experience taught me that the mind is both more powerful and more fragile than I ever imagined. My desperate desire to be a mother created false memories so convincing that I would have sworn in court that they were real. But it also taught me about the different kinds of love and family. Lily may not be my biological daughter, but she will always hold a special place in my heart. I was her mother for 6 months, and nothing can take away the love we shared during that time. Emily is an amazing mother now. She's confident, devoted, and completely in love with her daughter. Watching them together, I can see that Lily is exactly where she belongs. And me? I'm learning to be okay with not being a mother right now. I'm focusing on healing, on my marriage, on rebuilding trust in my own perceptions. Someday, when the time is right, David and I will have children of our own. But Lily will always be my first love, my first experience of unconditional maternal love. She taught me what it means to be a mother, even if I wasn't actually hers. The human heart is big enough for many kinds of love, and some bonds transcend biology. Lily may not be my daughter, but she'll always be my girl.